was very anxious when Jeff first went.
Oh, yeah, it's hard.
Good evening. Welcome to the Georgetown School Committee
Transitions.
meeting. The meeting of Thursday, September 13th is now called to order. The first item on the agenda is a consent agenda, and it includes the approval of minutes from the regular session of 8/30/2012, as well as the acceptance of warrants 11V13 and 10P13. The chair will, does anyone want to pull out anything on the consent agenda? I am going to abstain from voting on the regular session minutes only because I wasn't at that meeting. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved?
Any further discussion?
Second.
All those in favor?
I'll abstain.
Sneak a little
Yeah,
second
in there? Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Do we have a student rep yet?
We're going to be having Cole Martins is going to be our
Oh, good.
student rep, and he will be attending the next meeting. We're very excited about that.
Is he
Cole will
a
do a
senior
great
this
job.
year?
I believe so.
Already?
No, I thought he was 11.
He's a junior. I don't think, I
don't
think
think
it's.
Oh, you know what, I'm thinking of Cooper, I'm sorry, he was a sophomore.
Oh, and Cole.
He's a senior? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I just can't believe that's possible, but time flies.
Well, that's what happens. It
Thank you
goes
for
quickly.
clarifying. All right, so he'll be at our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's see, anyone from the audience that wishes to speak on any of the agenda items? I guess not. Okay, why don't we move up the Georgetown football discussion to now, because we have a discussion about the school building committee, but there's no one here for that. So we can move you up to the front if you don't mind coming up, and then we can.
And there's some information on your
Yep.
desk that you need to talk about.
All right, so just so that everyone here understands, the reason why they're before us is because they're going to be soliciting funds from students on school property. So that's something that the committee has to approve. That's why they come before us. And so this is for, is it Partners for Georgetown Football?
It
Is that
is.
still the
Yes.
title for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So do you want to just give us a brief idea?
Absolutely. In the past, we have gone to all the home games. We have solicited at those for the program books, but that's basically all that we've tried to sell at them. And starting out this year, we looked at, certainly the dynamics of the home games are where we capture the biggest audience. So we wanted to push that a little bit further for partners for raising funds and do not only the program books, but also some events at the halftime, not necessarily to raise money, but more to raise community spirit, and also sell T-shirts that we had bought. The T-shirts were kind of last minute that I threw out there, and that's what prompted the school to have me call you, because
Okay.
they were like, oh, it might interfere with the school sales. I've spoken with them, and they're
Oh, in the
looking into
school
it. They don't
store.
think so because it's a football shirt, and it's got a football on it. It's not necessarily a Georgetown High School shirt. So I am talking to them as well. But in that, they said you really need to just get a waiver for the year moving forward to cover this year to say that you're okay to do what you want to do.
Okay.
I'm also meeting with boosters on Monday night to talk to them about possibly putting the program book right into the shack and having them sell for us,
Okay.
in addition to us selling at the gate, just because a lot of people go up to the shack and would
Okay,
like
so
to
the
do it there.
boosters run the shack still,
They
right?
do.
Okay,
They
all right,
do.
that's, I was confused on that,
Yes,
okay.
they
When
do.
you say the shack,
The
The
snack
food,
shack
the
in
snack
the
shack,
parking lot.
Yeah.
I believe there's an Okay. article about Which that. is in just the
There was an
canopy.
article in the record today.
Just this, the
Yes.
canopy over it, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a silly question? What might be a silly question?
Absolutely.
Can you tell me the difference between boosters and Partners for Georgetown Football?
Boosters raises money and they donate back to all sports.
Including football?
No, I'm not thinking that they do anything.
It's a very good question.
It's an excellent question, yeah.
And not easily answered, although you're correct, it's the all sports boosters. So the intention is that they look at all the sports, and generally speaking, what they raise money for is they buy jackets for the students, they buy the pins that, go on the jackets, they buy, they help, they don't really support the banquets so much, the individual, teams do the banquets, but anything like that, banners, if we have a state championship, the boosters will buy the banner. But generally what's happened in the last several years, not just in Georgetown, but in a lot of other places, is individual sports have preferred to have the opportunity to support their sport by doing things similar to what Partners for Georgetown football is doing.
So exclusively
There's a
for
field
that
hockey
particular
group for
sport.
field hockey. The baseball teams have, kind of, they don't necessarily call themselves boosters. It's more like friends of, kind of, but they do their own individual fundraisers. It is something that, we're trying to get a little bit of a handle on, because we'd love it if everybody would contribute to a massive amount. All the money would go into a large account, and then there'd be some kind of a planning group that would say, we're gonna do uniforms, and here's the 5-year cycle of uniforms, and we're going to do this, and here's the 5-year cycle. So it wouldn't be necessary for individual schools, sports to be doing all this fundraiser and maybe getting uniforms every 2 years, when maybe they don't need uniforms every 2 years. Where other sports aren't lucky enough to have a booster club, and then what happens to them when they need uniforms? So it is a challenge. I wouldn't say it's a problem. It is a challenge, and it is something that I know Krista Franco, has been talking about too. Because the boosters have had trouble. All sports boosters have been having trouble getting themselves reinvigorated,
Right.
because there's so much energy going into the individual sports that there's not a whole lot left for the boosters. So it is something that I think we should really start to bring all the groups together and say, what is the solution to this? Because how can we meet everybody's needs? Individual parents want to support what's going to benefit their children. So if they're contributing money or doing fundraising and then their child doesn't have the benefit, that's, in the minds of parents, it's a problem. But also what can happen is fundraisers can happen. Let's say you're a senior. This happened when you're a senior on the field hockey team. And until everybody contributes the money to buy the uniforms come in the last day of the year. And you've contributed your money, and your child didn't get the benefit of that. It's not without its challenges. So it's something we need to continue to look at as a district, not
Who
necessarily to.
Who would take the reins on that?
Well, the athletic director is doing, some work with it, and, I'm trying to help. We're all trying to just kind of get our handle around. There's no sense, blowing it up. The governance committee for a couple of years met with the high school administration, looked at it,
been an
and it's
ongoing
been an ongoing,
discussion.
like, what do we need to do if it's a policy discussion and decision? And, it's got a lot of threads. It's not just like saying, this is what we're gonna do.
Absolutely.
We're no longer recognizing these groups. We're only gonna do all sports boosters. It's not as simple as that.
And we didn't have a full-time athletic director
Right, we
last
have,
year.
so there are things in
So
place now that I think
it's
could
not
make that
perfect.
discussion help. And I think the way football boosters started was, this is a very intensive cost sport. And the all sports boosters and the district did not have the money to really upgrade the equipment that these guys needed. I mean, they needed new helmets, they needed safe equipment. They really didn't have it. And so this
Yeah,
group of
it
people
wasn't-
stepped
right.
up and did a phenomenal job, completely outfitting the team with really state-of-the-art, safe, high quality equipment, and then it just never went back. It never disappeared. And then not only did it
Right,
not
well,
disappear.
unfortunately, in football,
Yeah,
every year, something
that's
else
right.
comes up. I mean, this year was uniforms and the sled, that was $15,000.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not something you can
Yeah.
go to a boosters club that sells food out of a
Exactly.
shack and say, can you cut us a check for that?
Exactly. So like I said, it's not as easy, and
It's very expensive.
very expensive. And they do fundraising through their program, and beautiful program that they put together, real professional looking program. So then it is the dilemma, so if people want to contribute to things that benefit their children, and they're more likely to participate,
Absolutely.
do you,
Yeah.
do you eliminate that and, at the
I
expense?
think it's a discussion that probably
It's a
Chris
much
needs
big,
to get
it's a much bigger
up-
discussion.
up to speed on what he's doing, and then
Absolutely.
bring
That's right.
everyone together.
Yeah,
Right.
and certainly we can have some discussion at the committee level as to, from the policy standpoint, as to what boosters organizations, need to include and need to be charged to do.
And from Partners' perspective, we are stepping up this year and asking boosters to start that dialogue with us.
Oh, good.
It's never been there before.
Good.
We've also pulled the cheerleaders into our group. They're considered part of Partners at this point, which honestly, I don't understand why it wasn't like that, but it wasn't.
That is good.
So we've
Because you
also,
would think.
we've also been in contact with the school for the band. We're asking that they stay heavily involved
Yeah.
with game days. So I think that there are a lot of dynamics to it, but it is coming together.
Yeah, no, I think that that's true, Carrie, and I appreciate, your help making that happen.
So what I'm looking for basically is just the freedom to do some of the events we want to do. There's really no liability. It's a couple of game day things. We talked about getting the flag football program out on one of the home games to do a scrimmage at halftime, possibly doing an alumni day, a senior citizens day, a rally day, all of which will be handled by partners, not necessarily on those looking for gaining any monetary value, but more of a community value. So that's what we're looking for today. Hopefully, I won't have to come bother you again this year. I've been out a couple times.
One
But
of the
if any-
things that I need to research a little bit more though, and again, it will be not just the boosters, is the wellness guidelines that are coming out from the federal government. And I just need to make sure, because I know they've changed a lot in terms of what can be served even on school grounds, even outside of school time. So we do need to be in
Okay.
compliance with that. I must admit, I'm not as up to speed as to how this I know what we have to do in the schools,
Right.
but I'm not necessarily sure if it pertains and how it pertains to outside groups
The other
that are
thing that,
working on our turf. Or
the other
our
thing that
ground.
we need to think about, and this was brought up before, and it wasn't Partners for Football, talking with Peter and the school store, because at one point we had approved something, and then there was a side comment made, well, we sell that in the school store, or we're, how does that work? So if we can, Peter can have that discussion too, so that we can just be clear that this is a unique,
I did reach
different-
out to Liz, I think
Yes.
her name
Yeah,
was.
Liz Marquetti.
Okay.
And sent her the email string from Peter that they wanted me to check with her.
Okay.
And that I could run one by, she could look at it. I'd actually love to see them put these in the store
was
if
gonna
they
say,
wanted
it'd
to
be-
and sell them for a little bit more profit in the store, make their
So you both
profit
make
off of
out.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how we
Absolutely.
envisioned the school store being sort of a merchandising center.
Right, so
you know.
not a bad thing for us to sell them for 16 in a game, but a good thing that the school could maybe pull them in for $20 during the week and make some money as well.
Right.
And keep whatever profit they can make on it.
So what fundraisers are you looking to do to solicit to sell direct to the kids?
We solicit ads in our program book, which is already underway. They're in print right now. So that's done. That's really outside of the school. That's us going out into the community and asking them to run ads, and parents put ads for their kids in it. So that is one. The second one is the raffle, which we sell 300 tickets at $100 a piece. We will want to sell those at the home games, or at least offer that ability for people to buy them there. But the kids really will be selling out of their homes. So they'll take the tickets home and be given the task to sell a set amount of tickets. Unfortunately, with 40 kids this year, they only sell 5. Last year was a lot more.
That's good.
Those two are our biggest fundraisers. The other one is the pancake breakfast, which really, again, the kids won't be soliciting at school for that. The parents will be doing that. So the only thing we want to sell at the games right now is T-shirts, and sorry, this is dirty, but an example of probably rally towels with Georgetown on them. So right
That's a
now,
good
those two
idea. I
things,
like
no
that idea.
food, no drinks. We don't want to affect boosters' income at all. We want them to be able to do what they do.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions? No? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to allow Partners for Georgetown Football to run a series of fundraisers throughout the school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank
you
you
very
very much
much.
for coming.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks. We're on our way.
Okay, next up is the school building committee. Michelle and Ellie aren't here. Ellie did call me and, because it's pretty much just to discuss approval of the warrant articles which deal with the FEMA mitigation grant as well as the feasibility study for the middle high school. So the big thing is, we already discussed what the project is gonna look like. MSBA asked us to go back and look at what what do we need to do with the middle high school to bring it up to where it should be, I guess is the best word, and relieve some of the issues that we have there, and then just provide for the best buildings that we can for education in Georgetown. So the first one is a warrant article for the FEMA mitigation grant, and there are two of them. each for $200,000, and we're asking the town to match $100,000 for each of those.
$100, 100,000 total. It's 50,000, they're $200,000 grants, right? And it's a
Two-
25% match for
Oh,
each.
okay,
So
that
it's
was-
a total of $100,000.
Okay, so to
So
match,
$400,000.
so
worth of work.
$100,000 total, and it matches 2 grants.
Correct.
Okay,
$400,000 worth of work.
okay. 500 worth of work? If it's 2 grants for 200
It's-
plus
it-
100?
Well, it's it's $200,000 mitigation grants, one for the middle high school, sorry, and one for Pearlie.
Yep.
In order to be eligible for those grants, we have to provide a 25% match,
Okay,
and that's the $100,000. So you're gonna get 200 at the middle high school, 200 at Pearlie,
Okay.
but we have to come up with a match, a 25% match. You can argue 50 for one and 50 for the other, but the total for the town is 100.
But it'll be on
A total
the,
of 500.
on the ballot as 2 warrants or one?
One.
No,
It'll
one
be the
article.
same. It'll be
one
article
to match 2 grants.
To match
Right.
2 grants. And
Okay,
it's gonna be on the ballot at the same time that we're asking the town to vote
Yes.
about the school?
MSBA has come up with, I can't use the word linked, and they haven't necessarily tied it together, but they're looking at Georgetown as a whole and saying, you want to do this project, but you've also identified problems at your other
Right,
building.
I understand.
Those need to be addressed. And when I talked to Ellie today, she said, it's not really linked, because they don't know what, the MSBA hasn't said what they're gonna do yet.
It's an uncertain.
It's very,
It's an
MSBA hasn't committed
undefined
to
link.
funding the elementary school if the town approves it?
Well,
no, they haven't committed to funding anything at the middle high school. They've committed to funding Pembroke.
Okay, they have.
So the
Oh, I
40
see.
Well,
there's the possibility
let-
that
let-
they-
let- can I just let me get some facts here for you, just so we don't confuse anybody.
They haven't-
I was just at the MSBA the other day,
Okay.
so I feel like I can say this pretty accurately. On October 3rd, Ann's gonna probably attend on behalf of the committee. October 3rd, the MSBA full board is going to vote on whether or not they are going to support Georgetown's Pembroke project as presented.
Okay.
So the meeting that I went to the other day was a meeting with the staff to make sure we went through all the details, just to make sure that, because when they get to the board meeting, it's just a perfunctory, yes. So all the vetting of it is done
Before the meeting.
before that. And when we submitted our proposal in August, the MSBA came back with 4 pages of questions that we have had to respond to, each and every one of them. And that's the kind of work that goes back and forth with the staff. So the meeting I went to the other day was for the staff to just finalize any questions, lay out the process, and they have told us that they are planning to recommend to the full board the approval of the Pembroke project. So that's generally a rubber stamp, because there's been so much work behind the scenes getting ready for it. So October 3rd is an important date, because that is when the MSBA will tell us, yes, we approve your project. All right, so that's point number 1. Point number 2 is, and Ellie is correct in saying it's not a direct link, but what we are waiting for, and I did see, just as I was leaving my office, Katie's email from MSBA popped up, so I'm guessing that there's email that when I look at it, it's gonna give me more information, but basically, MSBA has told us that it is likely, they're still discussing it, but it is likely that their approval of the Pembroke project will have at least one condition, maybe 2. Maybe 2. Again, we haven't seen anything in writing. They've indicated to us in our conversations with them that there's strong possibility that the Pembroke approval on the MSBA will likely be contingent, I'll say, not linked, contingent, on the town's approval of the $85,000 warrant article that you're gonna talk about tonight to complete the feasibility study at the middle high school. They want to see the district and the town's commitment to ensuring that the building that they are funding at Pembroke is going to be of sufficient size and space, and know that the middle high school is going to be able to accommodate the 7 through 12. Remember?
Yes.
So because that study could not be fully completed by the architects because of the way the warrant article was written originally, there's a very, very preliminary list of what might need to be done at the middle high school to ensure that the spaces, remember they weren't happy with interior spaces, the special ed spaces. In order to do that work in the spring, there will need to be another discussion with the town about the feasibility study that's done over the course of the spring.
Acting on the feasibility
Acting
study.
on the feasibility. So if you saw that big document that was produced for the feasibility study for this project, there'll be another document, not quite as thick as that, but there'll be another extensive document that will literally be, down to the fine tooth comb, that will say, this is what it is actually going to cost for you to do those middle high school renovations. What's not clear to me is whether or not that will be the second condition,
Right.
that you have to agree at some point to fund those renovations, not just to say,
Not to
we
get a
have
list
to
of what
say,
they are.
Study.
not to say the study, and
And
then
then
to
we
have the
do
study
it
and then say,
6
well,
years
sorry,
later.
we're not gonna do that.
Right.
Is there any, does the MSBA ever fund 2 projects?
Well,
in
that's
a
the other
town?
question. That's the other question. So I asked that question. I said, that we're gonna be going to the town to ask them to make a very important decision. And we have to have as many of the balls coming down out of the air as we can so that they know exactly what the impact is going to be. So it would be very helpful to go into the meeting with the town for a vote and know, is MSBA going to be willing to partner with us on any actual work that would be done to the middle high school? Because if it's 100% on Georgetown's dime, some people might go one way. And if it's, well, gee, we'll share, we think it's important, we'll share 50% of the cost with you, they might go another way. So they're aware of the timing of this, they're aware of the need. And in fact, there's a strong possibility that someone from the MSBA will actually be at the town meeting to help us with some of this.
Sounds
That's
like a
still
good
up to
idea.
be discussed and decided. But it's not linked directly in, but I'm telling
not.
you, I would be
Right.
very, I would not be shocked, let's just say
It's
that,
gonna
if
be
there's a condition.
Condition or a contingency.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
I don't-
information
I
is
don't
supposed to
wanna
be
be-
coming like now.
Maybe,
I'm waiting.
I don't want to jump the gun
No, no.
on anything. What happens if the town doesn't approve any of it?
Well, if the town doesn't approve it, then the way it works is we have the MSBA's approval. If the town says no, then we have 120 days to get the funding. So we'd have, some towns take it off the docket and then just don't do anything with it. Sometimes they try to go back again and make some changes. The MSBA wants to see a project here. They
They've
know,
invested a lot
they've
to
invested
this
a lot in this. The town has invested $720,000 in a study, well, actually more than that with the 55, no, I guess not. I guess with the 85, it would be more than 720. But, so it's a very big decision. I don't know. I think that's part of what we'd have to go back. We would work in partnership with MSBA. I would want to know what was the problem, why did people feel the way that they felt about it, In the next 6 weeks, there's got to be a lot of conversation in the community about,
Right.
why it is, what it is, how it's beneficial, and it will be what it is at the end of the day, right?
I'm just concerned, I've been concerned for the
Yeah.
past month or more
Yeah.
that there hasn't been anything in the record about
Yeah.
it, other than the organization that's forming to fight the approval of this.
Right, pretty much an organization needs to be developed outside of
Yeah.
the school committee and outside of the school building committee to
Promote it.
promote it.
I know the building committee worked extensively the other night till well after 10 o'clock, trying to come up with collective answers to fact-based questions. Anticipating, what kinds of questions would the community have, and what's the background information that they need to know in order to, whatever way they decide to make an informed decision.
Right.
I think there still needs to be a lot of more discussion about what's the financial impact
Absolutely.
And it, the difference between an operating override and a debt exclusion, and how does it actually affect, people in their own personal circumstances.
Absolutely.
And I think the other question that I'm afraid that we can't answer right this minute, but the town needs to kind of continue to talk about this, is most people, have said, okay, I understand, the need for a new school. And in many towns, the MSBA said that there's only been a couple of towns where buildings have been turned down at the end of the day. There's lots of discussion, lots of debate, lots of, divisions in towns, but at the end of the day, they've supported projects because it's infrastructure and it's something that they can see the long-term value and benefit.
Right.
Separate from an operating override. That's a very different situation in people's minds. They said that, it's generally supported, but there's no doubt that it's a big ticket and people have to understand exactly how it impacts them but the long-range plan, what they keep saying to me is, but what's next, Carol? So Elm Street improvements, what's coming down the road, right?
Right.
So I can support the school because I think we need it, but what do I have to worry about,
Well,
2
that's what
years,
this
5 years,
organization
7
is-
years?
is
And
saying.
that's a challenge to answer that question.
I'd
Building-
like to take this opportunity before I forget to, it would be, I think, a great idea if the selectmen, this is a project that is quite large. It's gonna impact the town for, this will be gone. And
I may not be.
to get as many people at a town meeting. And it would be a great idea if the selectmen could request the committees, the various committees, request the townspeople to attend a special meeting at the high school for a Q&A, for an education of this. And the reason I wanted to say that before I forget is that the building committee doesn't have that kind of position with the town as the selectmen do. And as the leaders of our town, I think it would be a great way to start to educate everybody
Yeah.
coming from them. So I wanted to share that in public.
It's very different to read a fact sheet than it is to have an opportunity to have interactive
To have a
questions.
dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, maybe that's something that and you could drop David a note and just make that as a suggestion.
I mean, there actually have been a number of community meetings held by
Yeah, there have
the
been.
school, by the school building committee.
They have,
And they've been very informative.
yep.
But they were working diligently on a fact sheet, and hopefully that will be something that will be available to the public through the school website, through the town website, once they fully develop it.
We have another meeting next Tuesday on the fact sheet to hopefully finalize it.
Oh, good. Yes, as
And-
soon as possible.
And I believe there is a committee that is going to undertake, the educating the public.
Okay.
And they have a schedule in mind,
Oh,
from
they
what I
do? Oh,
understand.
That's good. That's good to know.
Great.
And if you have friends that want to join,
That
feel free to
will be,
feel free to have them
They
join,
could
and
use-
they
could
can use all the help they can get.
use all the help they can get.
I mean, the FEMA mitigation grants are really important, and I'm hoping that the town, can see their way through to support those, because, without those, doing anything to like the middle high school first floor is like throwing good money after bad, because there's moisture in the building, and that's never gonna be fixed, these grants are gonna actually get at fixing something that is gonna be and has been a long-standing problem. And it's one of those central things that if you don't fix that, it's like a roof. If you don't fix the roof and it keeps leaking and then you keep replacing the tiles inside, that doesn't make sense. That's just not right.
What are the
So this is
essential fixes?
an essential infrastructure improvement that it is very, very much needed.
Absolutely.
So I think
Any
you're
more
trying to just
questions?
vote on whether or not
We're
the
just-
school committee wants to
Include the two warrant articles.
wants to support the inclusion, right? Mhm.
Absolutely.
All right. More questions, comments on the warrant articles? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the inclusion of a warrant article in the 2012 fall town meeting agenda to ask the town for $100,000, which will match 2 FEMA mitigation grants, each for $200,000.
So moved.
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is, the DRA architect, fee to do the feasibility study for the high school. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the inclusion of a warrant article in the 2012 town meeting agenda to pay DRA architects $85,000 to complete a feasibility study for the Georgetown Middle High School.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have one more warrant article which is not included in here that we want to include. One of the things we talked about in the spring, when we were going through our budget, was in our budget, we included all the special education costs that we knew at the time. And what we could reasonably predict was going to happen with the students that were requiring special education programs, outside placements, services, whatever the issue was. At this time, we've identified a few costs that have come up that we're likely to have to go ask the town for funding. For confidentiality, we can't discuss who it is. And we cannot, and we don't have a firm number right now. There's a couple things that Carol's working with Donna Straight on.
And maybe more than one.
And it may, at this point, there's several issues, and we're just trying to, with many balls up in the air, trying to understand what could come to fruition, what's not gonna come to fruition, and what we really need.
Get a
Right.
placeholder.
So what I'm
That's what it would be
asking,
a placeholder.
what I'd like the committee to approve is including a warrant article on, just like we just approved, but for special education. And we'll have a number, and we'll discuss with the committee what that number means in executive session. Right now, we have no idea what the number is, so we're not at a point to discuss it, but I just wanted to see if you all agreed or had concerns or comments about either putting it on or not putting it on.
I 100% agree with putting it on.
I mean, the Board of Selectmen makes the final decision, but you could make, you're suggesting you wanna make the case for it.
Yes.
Right, that's what we're, that's what
Absolutely,
we're,
yeah.
okay.
Well, and I'd like to think the finance committee would welcome it.
We need to meet the needs of the kids.
Yeah, we need to, and with our budget, and what's kind of important for everyone to understand is, a lot of districts, when they do their special education budget, they'll put placeholders in. They'll say, look at the average cost of an out-of-district placement, average cost for transportation, average cost for aides in the district, or behaviorists or other specialists that we might require, and we'll put money in to accommodate those needs if necessary. Our budget is tight, we don't have any of those placeholders.
Right.
So we can't sit here and say, all right, let's do this. And we used to go to choice. So the reason why this discussion is coming up this year is we used to go to choice, we used to move things around and make it work. We're at a point now where we don't have that
There's
ability.
nothing to move.
There isn't anything to move, so, I'd feel
And yet-
comfortable, I know that we can support it, I just wanna make sure the board is comfortable moving forward with that. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the inclusion of a warrant article in the 2012 Fall Town Meeting agenda to pay for, special education expenses to be determined, and discussed with the committee.
A second.
Any further discussion?
We'll figure out the wording in executive session.
No,
No, we'll figure out-
out the wording closer to, when we have more information.
We'll figure out the dollar amount. Carol will present us with the dollar amount. We'll discuss the dollar amount. We'll provide the dollar amount in regular session. In executive session, she will provide us with general information about where it has why we're doing this.
So we can just create a place.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be filled with something.
Correct.
Well, it will be filled
It
with
will be.
something.
It
will be, yeah.
It's not gonna be filled this very
not right
minute,
now.
because we don't have the
No.
language, right? We
Right.
need the
But
language.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
And
right.
I'd rather have it on the agenda and pass over it than not have it, because this is the only time we can go to the town
Yes,
for the
absolutely.
money until the
Yes,
spring.
that makes
Right.
perfect
We could
sense.
pass over it if
Right.
something happened.
And I'm hopeful we can. I'm hopeful
I am
it's
too.
gonna be something that we can just walk
Yes.
and pass over. All right, did we already voted, right?
No.
No, we
No,
didn't.
we
We
moved.
moved. No,
We
we
seconded.
moved.
And
And
then we
okay.
discussed, and now we're.
Now we vote.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pam, second.
I
Pam
seconded,
did
yes, I
second.
did.
Yeah, oh, I did get the second.
Sorry,
All
I
right,
need
any
to speak
opposed?
up.
Motion carries. All right, next up is the superintendent's
Yeah,
report.
two quick things. It's always a pleasure to recognize students. And last year we had a senior, Michael Johnson, and he received a $1,000 scholarship from the Charles Schwab Foundation in recognition of a high score on the National Financial Capability Challenge. It was an exam that students were encouraged to take, and he did very, very well. So well that it qualified him for a scholarship. But the other nice thing about it is this is one of those scholarships where a matching donation is also awarded to the Georgetown Public Schools. And obviously, you know, it's a pleasure to accept the donation, and the formality is you need to formally accept it, and we will send a letter to Michael, you know, obviously congratulating him on his award, and you know, thanking him, you know, for you know, his contribution on behalf of the school district. And then we don't have to decide what to do with that money, although it's going into the donation account. And I would suggest that we have the donation, it go to the middle high school, something at the middle high school that they would like to use the donation for. So
All
I
right.
would urge you to accept the donation with gratitude, and congratulations to Michael.
Absolutely.
And we do that at the end,
Absolutely.
right?
You can, and you know, you can do it under new business, or
Yeah,
you can do
we
it
have
now.
it,
It's
yeah.
really up to you.
And we'll just do it under new.
All
so I
right,
don't-
great.
Can I ask you a question about
course.
that? And could that $1,000 matching donation be used as like a scholarship in his name? To be awarded to to a senior?
Well, I guess we could determine that you wanted to offer it. I mean, it would be a 1-year
Right.
scholarship.
It would be 1 year non-renewable, and it would benefit only one child.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, the
yeah,
school
we
committee
can.
always
Yeah.
can identify a scholarship, and you know, I'm not sure if there's limits from the company on it, whether or not it can be, you know, I don't call it re-gifted,
Right.
because that's not
That's-
really
it's
the
just
right
a
word, but
question.
you
It's
know,
not
I don't,
necessarily what I feel should
yeah, I
happen
don't
with the
know, I don't know,
1,000.
Barbie, we can certainly look into that if you'd like to know more. Otherwise, I would just suggest it go into the donation account and be able, you know, Peter's trying to raise his money for a sign, you know, his electronic
I
sign.
know.
So
Yes.
he might appreciate that
No,
extra
like Ann
$1,000.
pointed out, though, it would benefit, you know, a bunch of students if
Yeah.
we put it into that fund. So that's fine, it was just a question.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
question.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And then the next item, I know I don't know if the record's got an article in it about it, because I haven't seen that yet, but I know there was discussion, and I was asked for a quote, so I know there was an article being published. The Boston Globe magazine, the Boston magazine, not the Boston Globe, once again, for the second year in a row, recognized Georgetown as one of its top best schools and districts in the state. This year, they recognize high schools. In the past, they might have done districts, but this year they focused on just high schools in the greater Boston area. And I did include the article because I think it's very interesting to read the whole thing and how they rate certain things. But just for the public's benefit, on a table in the and we should probably put the article up on the website if we haven't already attached the link. But they looked at criteria such as enrollment, student-teacher ratio, graduation rate, percentage of students going to college, 10th grade MCAS scores, average SAT scores in reading, writing, and math, the percentage of students scoring proficient, which means a score of 3, 4, or 5 on AP exams, the number of varsity sports, and the number of clubs. And overall, our high school ranked 46th in the state. The interesting thing, or I guess the most, something that's really quite really impressive, I think, is they basically were in the top 10 in all of the schools that were rated in the percentage of students who took the AP exams and scored a 3, 4, or 5. Once again, you know, this is excellent news for our high school and for our entire district. You know, as I said to the teachers on the first day, you know, the high school deserves a tremendous amount of credit. They year after year, you know, have students performing at high levels. But, you know, it's a cumulative process, and so it starts even at the kindergarten level, and it is about, you know, how do we give students opportunities throughout the district to do well and come to the high school and be able to perform and be competitive with their peers. So I do think it's important for the public to know that we did achieve that ranking. Last year, we were 48th in school districts. This year, we're 46th in high schools. So
That's great. It was
very
interesting. It was very
It's
interesting.
It is very
Yeah.
interesting, and when you really have the chart and you take a look at it and you see, sort of, where groups fall. I mean, we don't have as many sports and clubs, but we're a small school compared to some of the schools that are on this
Well,
list.
it's interesting when you look at the number one, which is Weston.
Yeah.
Our enrollment is actually higher. They spend twice as much
Yes.
on per pupil spending. Our graduation rate is 2 points lower. Percent going to college, we're 3 points lower. We score much better. What's interesting I found was we score much better on the AP exams than they did, but we're almost 100 points across the board lower on our average SAT scores. So it's just, I don't know what the relationship between the AP.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I don't. It's just kind of.
AP being
Well, they are
advanced placement.
two different. I mean, they both measure aptitude, I
Yeah.
guess, but they are two different.
Yeah, they're two different
measures.
tests, and then they have twice as many varsity sports, and 3 times as many clubs as we have. So we do a lot, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I
interesting.
mean, I think that, most people that have spoken to me about it have said, wow, I mean, the most remarkable thing is how well our students do in many
Right.
of these categories in relationship to how, how much money is spent. I mean, there's nobody
lean
else on the
budget.
list. There's nobody on the list that's less than $10,000 a student.
Yeah, we're almost 20% lower than our next person.
Right. So I know that I've been asked this by many members of the public, so why don't people come and talk to you, Carol, about what you guys are doing here? You're doing so well, and you don't spend as much money. And I usually remind them that I think it's true, but I think the important thing to remember is that the money we spend on the classroom. We focus our money on the classroom. Now, we
And we
don't
have
have up-to-date
fabulous teachers.
technology. We don't have, as much money as we need on the facilities and maintenance. But right, we hire the best teachers we can find.
Excellent
We
teachers.
try to, support our teachers with professional development, and our teachers make our district. There's no doubt about it.
Teachers who love what they're doing.
Yes,
And we
that's
have
right.
the right
many
strategy.
of
And
them.
that's the right strategy.
Right.
I think it is a strategy that's worked well for us and
Partly-
served us well.
Partly hurts you too.
Yes,
because
it does.
Well, it's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged
Yeah.
sword, of course,
Yeah.
it is, it
We've
is.
talked about that many times.
Yes, it is a double-edged
And the
sword.
question is
You're
how
doing it.
sustainable.
Well-
And we hope that it's,
Well, no. See, here's the issue. I mean, and we're facing it right now with Pembroke. I mean, we've done as best as we could maintaining Pembroke, but the question becomes how. What are we going to do if that doesn't pass? And then what are we going to be faced with on an ongoing sustainability?
right, our fifth graders don't have a lab curriculum because they don't have a lab,
Right.
which
That's
puts
correct.
them at a disadvantage.
Yep.
Right.
Or access to
Because the
updated
Pembroke is
technology.
overcrowded and we did have a lab, but that has to be used for a classroom.
Right.
So anyway, I just wanted to share the great news with the committee and with the public. And it's always like, so you hope next year and the year after and the whole sustainability thing, but, every year we do what we feel is right and best for kids, and we're very proud of the accomplishments of our staff and students. And we're continuing to develop plans to, make improvements in places that we still need to continue to improve.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Rob.
Great job.
Yeah,
Yes.
congratulations to the staff. They do the work, the hard work
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah.
And then I think I just included for your benefit the comments that I made to the staff on the first day of school. So that's just for your information.
Yes.
All right. Any questions on the superintendent's information for the committee? I just had one. Is our enrollment down? I always use 1,600 as my number, and now we're
Well, remember,
well
that's,
below
I mean, that's,
1,600.
Pembroke is up.
Is Pembroke up?
That is up. I know that.
Pembroke is up. You know what, Ann, let's
just
let's
something.
let's do like a little comparison
Yeah,
of
I'd just
that.
like to see that only because I always thought that I thought it was 1633 was what stuck in my head. So,
Yeah,
which,
these are the students who showed up on the first day of school, basically. Um,
yeah, so let's
so,
just,
so look into
That's quite a
enrollment
difference.
comparison.
yeah, that's what my, yeah,
1633 versus
Well, remember, we
this.
did say that our kindergarten and first grade numbers were down. Remember, this is the start of that sort of trend.
okay.
Now, at Pembroke this year, they got 20 new families. So,
That's a
you know,
lot.
and that's.
It's 17 or are you just
I thought,
rounding?
and I think Donna told me there were 20, but,
Wow.
you know, it's between 17 and 20.
Wow.
Which is a lot of new families. And there's a lot of real estate for sale, so, you know, that trend could continue.
Yes.
Yeah, if we could just look at where we were last year.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Great. All right, do we have a financial?
No, we didn't
report?
have any financial
Okay.
report today,
Are we
that's why
gonna get in
Joan.
the habit of getting like a quarterly financial report?
Yeah, I
or
think Joan's-
monthly? How are we?
I think Joan, either way, Joan is, I just talked to her about that today. She's happy to put in, we had been for a while putting in the monthly report, the second meeting
Okay.
of the month.
Yep.
And, you know, she's certainly very willing to do quarterly reports like, you know, like we've done. Whatever way the
Okay.
committee would like, you know, a synopsis of the information, she's willing to do it.
All right.
So if you'd like her to include the monthly, you will have some transfers next meeting.
Yep.
But if you'd like her to include the Munis monthly,
Yeah, that-
report, at the second meeting, happy to have her do
You
that.
got budget and finance. Are you okay with that? If we get the
That's that thick report, you remember, with all the
Yes.
different lines?
and it show what it does. She encumbers or commits the money that we're going to spend, so we know what. Even though we haven't technically spent the money, we know it's already committed, and then we know what's left over, so we can kind of track where we're going.
Yeah,
And it's just nice to see.
Yeah, the reason
And then
that-
you can look at the different line items to get a good understanding of where we're falling short or where we may have.
Right, she's still
excesses.
making some adjustments because, the payroll office encumbered the money with the town.
Right.
For individual people, but then she encumbered the money for the people who were here last year.
Okay.
So there are some changes in staff that need to be tweaked and adjusted, and right now Tricia's doing a payroll, so it wasn't a good time to
Yeah.
kind of ask her to do that, but we definitely
Okay.
will provide that. School committee in the second meeting, right?
All right, subcommittee reports, budget and finance. Barbie, Rob.
We had a meeting this evening, right before this meeting, and it was Rob and I and Carol and Joan. And she went over the audit through June 2011. And everything looks like it's not an easy fix, but
Were there a lot of exceptions? Like, you remember last year, the
There were
footnote-
9 findings.
9 findings? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But they're-
and for the most part, they seem that Joan understands what they are and
does.
how we can fix it.
Anything?
We're gonna put it in your packet for, next meeting.
Oh, we're gonna get it next time. Okay, I'll look at it next time.
And we'll do a summary.
Okay, perfect.
And
I jumped the gun.
And I'd add to that, the punchline was that it appears for the 2013 budget that we're all right, we're not running any deficit at this point in time.
Where, have we looked at net school spending for 13 yet? To see if we're,
I don't think it's available yet, Ian. I don't think
No.
that calculates in, okay.
you know how we can kind of do a calculation to make sure that our spending for 13 is gonna be what it needs to be?
I don't think we.
Forecast?
Yeah, usually we forecast what.
Budget
I'll,
forecast?
I'll ask Ann, we didn't discuss that.
Yeah, because Terry used to be able to at least kind of do a look forward and say, we're tracking to be at net school spending. The reason that becomes an issue for us is because we're so close to the bottom. If we don't spend enough, then they can force the town to give us the money, and then they can levy penalties. So that's why we need to be.
We will certainly look at that.
Sure that-
Remember,
We need to be sure we're
Everything's on
at
track.
that number.
but the override helped us.
The-
The override made a significant difference. We used to really be, like Ann said, skating in. I mean,
Below.
like, we were actually below 2 years in a row by
So-
$14,000, $20,000. But the override, you know, if net school spending was 13,500,000, right? We were about 14 million plus by the time the town figured in all of its,
So that would carry us for a year, so I don't know the differential of how it creeps,
Yeah, I don't know either, so.
So we should find that out.
look forward to,
net school spending.
tracking
Forecast.
for net school spending forecast, okay. Okay, I have that on the list, so we'll take care of that.
Governance. Barbie, you're up again?
Governance, we met last week, Pam, Carol, and I, and As you can tell from your packet, we were busy.
Yeah, you guys are gonna be busy this year, I think.
Yeah, I think we will be, which is good, which is good. So there's things in the packet that, we have to,
That we're gonna approve.
yes.
Did you get a chance to talk about the public use
Yes.
of private funds?
Yes.
Are you at a point where you're gonna bring anything forward to the committee, or are you still discussing that in governance?
No, we finished the discussion, and, we got the verbiage down.
Okay.
You sent that to us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a problem with my computer.
Were the subcommittee gonna review what you put together before we present
We
it
don't
to
need to
the
discuss it, we can wait till the
Yeah.
next meeting. if
Yeah,
that-
yeah,
That's fine,
yeah,
okay.
yes, and that process, that would be a policy.
Yep.
And that policy would have to go through the three
Three.
Three reads.
readings.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yeah.
And was there one more governance issue?
That was the last one.
Oh, yes, there is. Naomi looked at our complaint policy,
Oh, public complaints.
public complaints. So that will be
We're gonna
next.
look at
That's
that
the
the
Yes,
next
next
on your
governance
meeting.
meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
We did we schedule, we did not
That I
when
know of.
we left,
No.
but we will.
Yeah, and when we do, schedule that, then, you know, maybe Laura and I we'll coordinate with Naomi, because if she wasn't feeling that the policy was as effective as she recommended, she probably has other policies that she's familiar with that she would recommend that we look at.
So before the meeting, you might want to just
Yeah,
have
we-
Carol and Laura
We will.
have her get back to you with what.
Naomi, the attorney, was very
Attorney,
helpful.
yes,
Very
she is.
helpful.
She is.
Yes.
Public comment at next meeting. Public complaints at next meeting for governors.
All right, public relations. Pam.
Yes, well, we have now met 3 times, and this is Rob, Carol, and I, and Barry Belanger has been joining us. We are working on a district communications plan with 3 elements to it. But at the moment, we're focused on the district upgrade and update and looking at that right now.
Okay.
Barry has created a test site, which is absolutely fabulous. But we're still looking at it, and we were hoping that the school committee would be able to, if you have ideas about the 10 most important facts, we want the public to be able to get, you know,
that's
the
on yours.
information that's
Same
most
thing on mine.
important to them very quickly, easily. We want it user-friendly, clear, professional. And so, you know, we have our ideas, Rob and we, of what the public, what's most important, but if you all had ideas as well, we would, you know, it would be helpful to have them.
Can I, like, when you say ideas, like, when I, sometimes if I'm,
Yeah.
like, looking for something on one of the websites and I can't find it, can that be an idea too?
Yes.
Like,
Yes,
say,
yes.
I can
mean,
never
it can be a
find.
category, it can be a
Okay.
fact that you just think is really something
Okay.
you go to look for often, a lot of
Okay.
people do. What's important?
Okay.
Can we shoot that off in an email to both of you?
Absolutely, yes.
And I would
Because we want to
say
be sure we have it all. Sorry.
for the public that's watching also, that any questions or,
Yes.
you know, what they think is important to them about the schools. You know, what do
Yes.
they want to know about the schools? What are the top 10 most important
That they wanna
things
find
that
on the
they want to
website.
find on the website?
Yes.
That they want to get information on.
If they're going to the website and not finding something,
Please
what is
send
that?
those into the general mailbox. Does that work?
I would say send it to you and,
Send it to me.
you and
Right.
Pam.
Yeah.
Send it
Yes,
to-
yes.
Just, and your emails are
On
on
email.
the website.
Yep,
that's
Under
right.
school committee
And they're
tab.
on the website.
Yes.
That's right. Okay.
No, I was just wondering, because it seems to me like this year, the information I wanted at the beginning of the year is something I only needed once, really, at the beginning of the year. And then it doesn't need to be so prominently displayed on the website. But I'm sure, actually from discussions, I'm sure I'm not the only person who needed certain information at the beginning of the year that was not available on the website.
Yeah, that's what we want to know.
That's what we want to know.
That's what we want to know.
Exactly. And
One of
any
the-
thoughts you have about that?
Mhm.
I have an idea for that, of something that I saw.
Anything like that.
Yes, but I'm very excited, I think, you know, once it goes online, and a website is kind of a living, breathing entity. It's a work in progress, so, I mean, we can,
Always.
you know,
It's a
right.
continual work in progress.
It's a continual
so
work in
that's-
progress, and, you know, we want the public to feel comfortable with it. We're beginning to work on a district brochure for parents and new families. I found this old brochure from 2004.
We didn't even know that
Which has a lot of great ideas in it, and,
How did you find
you
that?
might update it. I
Saved
kept
it.
I save all kinds of
Saves
things.
all kinds of things.
Wow.
It's very well done. I'm not sure about the black and white, but,
In '04 though.
this is, it's just what we're looking at and working at. Again, to better inform the public and people who want to learn more about the Georgetown Public School District.
And we'd like to do something like a, email blast, like continue, we were looking at constant contact as one
Yeah.
option. Something just short, snappy little things that are just informational that go out on a regular basis. Again, we're trying to concentrate on the website first and then we're still
Right, right. That's
researching
the-
what
the
could
third
possibly, because whatever
avenue
we
we're
do,
looking
it
at.
has to be something we can manage. Because if we can't manage it, it won't be current, it won't, people will get discouraged. It's gotta be something that is useful, easy to manage,
Consistent.
consistent,
Timely.
Yes.
That you
timely.
could hand it
The
down, you could
user-
hand the format down to somebody and they could pick it up.
Yeah.
You're not reinventing the wheel. every
User
time.
friendly to department heads as well as parents that are, so there's a lot to consider.
Yep.
Not now
We
to
should be
get
busy
into
for
it,
the
but
rest of the
maybe at
year.
some point the school committee would be willing to talk about, depending on how important we all think public relations is and getting the information out with the
Very
website, that maybe there's a position that is created and becomes part of the budget, not a full-time position, but somebody who is one person who's in charge of that system. Right now, it's
Barry?
It's just, well, no, the problem is it's
It's no one,
everybody
yeah.
and it's, yeah.
so
Carolyn,
maybe at some point we could talk about that.
Yep.
with input from everyone else.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay.
Negotiating?
No.
No, the follow-up for Carol though, where are we with our contract, teacher's contract?
Okay, the teacher's contract is at the stage where it's being typed up.
Okay.
And then my understanding, most recent conversation with Joe is that, Joe Patella, is that he's expecting a draft like very, very soon, of which the group of us will review it. And then once, it's all reviewed and agreed to, then it would go and be available and published.
Okay.
So it has taken a little longer than we had all hoped and anticipated, but there were a bunch of glitches that from the point of the perspective of the person who's doing all the
Logistics,
typing,
getting
logistics
it
and getting
done,
it.
okay.
But we're looking forward to having it in people's hands, and we will. This is the year to negotiate with the GSA, the Georgetown Education Support Association, aides, tutors, and generally they either send us a letter. Usually they send us a letter in Octoberish, saying that they're interested in starting the process, and
Yep.
then the negotiations group, would start meeting to.
How long
that-
is their contract?
Their contract is, well, that's up for discussion, but
Yeah.
usually it's 3 years.
3.
Usually they're 3-year contract.
All our contracts are 3 years unless we negotiate differently.
Is that the only one up this year?
And me.
And you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you send us a letter? Just
She
kidding.
just did.
I could, I guess,
No,
if that's
just kidding.
required.
No, okay. Let's see. Old business, Pam, was that public relations? We had old business listed and did you cover
was
that?
the-
Was
this is
that
the
you-
10
what you were
most
covering? Okay.
done.
So pretty much the 3 of us need to send you our top 10 things, any things we want on
And
there.
even if you just have
Right, just to
one,
be sure that we cover it
Yeah.
all.
just-
Okay.
I know 10 was asking for a lot.
10 was a
I'm
lot.
like, 10?
When we get
bet
a,
I bet you could rattle off 10
know what,
things
right,
just
I
like
thought-
first
that.
5
To
come
mind is
fast.
important.
Yeah.
First 5 come fast.
Okay.
Pressure.
Let's see, new business, we have a bunch of policies to go through, and Pam just brought up a good point in that the website is a living and breathing document, so is our policy manual.
Yes.
Anne and George went through a huge effort and undertaking several years ago to actually establish our policy manual. So then once it was established, we set up a review cycle. So it gets reviewed every year. And as we go through the policy, even if it has recently been adopted or we haven't reviewed it for a short while, we find that things change. So it like the website is living and breathing, and we're constantly updating and revising. So hence, that's why we have 10 adoptions tonight. So we'll go through each one and approve them. And because they're revisions, we don't do 3 reads, we just approve them now. When we get a new policy, which might come before us within the next 1 or 2 meetings,
Okay.
it's presented at
Yeah.
one meeting, read at a next meeting, and then approved at the 3rd meeting. So that's the subtle difference. All right, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve revised policy AC, non-discrimination as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Laura, thank you for highlighting.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised policy ACA, non-discrimination on the basis of sex.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised policy BEC, executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the emergency plans. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised policy EBC, emergency plans as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve revised policy GBA, equal employment opportunity as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised policy GCF, professional staff hiring as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised policy IJ, instructional materials as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve revised policy JB, equal educational opportunities as presented.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Oh,
Oh, aye. Sorry.
you made a first and a second.
I
All
know,
those in
it
favor?
gets repetitive after a minute.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve revised policy JBA, student-to-student harassment as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve revised policy JFBB, school choice as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve revised policy JLC, student health services and requirements as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, just so that everyone's clear, the reason we go through those quickly is because it's assumed that everyone's read it, and if they have questions, you bring it up when you.
And can I also
And-
add that it's at the recommendation of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees that we are changing these?
Right, and this is all vetted out through governance, so it's assumed that you've gone through reading, looking at MASC, and saying, okay, does this make sense with what Carol's
Right.
saying?
And for the public, if they wanted to just get a rough sense of what the changes were, is there a way they can do that by going on the website, or is it the document
No.
shows up and you
No,
don't see
it,
what's
it
changed?
just, it shows up on
It shows
the,
up.
on the, in the policy manual.
Yep.
Did you want that?
I mean, if they have any
Say what
questions.
it
If they have questions,
actually
they
I mean,
is.
generally, most of those policies, it was the inclusion of gender identity.
Gender identity,
identity.
that there's no discrimination for gender identity.
I think that's
Right.
great,
In
just all of a
addition-
sudden now people understand what kind of we just.
Exactly.
Right.
All right, as Carol noted before, we had a donation made to us from the Charles Schwab Foundation as a result of one of our students achieving or receiving a scholarship. And they donated $1,000 to us, so the chair will entertain a motion to accept a $1,000 donation from the Charles Schwab Foundation with gratitude.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Janice?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Once again, another donation, and that's to the athletic department, and it's from Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, who have donated $1,000 to the athletic department in memory of their son Patrick, who was an alumni of the Georgetown Middle High School, and they've done this. They've held several events, and they've done this a couple times.
Yes, this is not, this is a couple who have done this for several years, at least a couple, but
At least
maybe
a couple
three.
years, yeah.
And, you know, we're very grateful. And I know that Georgetown Middle High School meant a lot to their son, and this is just a wonderful fitting tribute to, you know, to their son's memory, and it's obviously beneficial to us. We appreciate it.
And it goes in the public school donation
It
account.
goes into the athletic.
Oh, I'm sorry, the athletic department, okay.
Yeah.
And I just read that. So the chair will entertain a motion to accept the $1,000 donation from Mr. and Mrs. Thompson in memory of Patrick Thompson with gratitude.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And heartfelt thank you to them for
Absolutely.
keeping us in mind, you know, because it was so important to their son. It's nice to see that. Homeschool family approval. We have to go through this every year with any families that are homeschooling their children, and this is reviewed, Carol, the
By the
program is
Director of Special Education.
reviewed by Carol and the Director of Special Ed. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the homeschool families as presented for the school year 2012-2013.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just a stupid question. I mean, I'm not suggesting I would do this, but what can you question about it? I mean, what,
You can just ask what kind of program they're using, what results have they had, are you,
The law requires us to gather some very specific information. Some parents go into very great detail, actually provide us with, you know, synopsis of the curriculum, samples. Others, you know, do something a little bit more basic, but we have to be told, you know, obviously, the grade of the student, we have to be told what the qualifications of the person or people are that are going to be doing the curriculum. We have to be told what the curriculum actually is, and there is an expectation that it is linked to the Massachusetts expectations. We have to also.
is it an expectation or a requirement?
Well, sometimes in cases of curriculums that are religious in nature, it's not the direct link, but we do encourage our homeschool families to pay attention to the requirements. And homeschool families cannot take MCAS, and we do have a number of homeschool families often that will ask, can my child come in and take MCAS? And the state has said, no, only children who are enrolled in Massachusetts schools have that opportunity. Some of our homeschool students do take advantage of some of the services like sports, and maybe, there have been situations where they come in for one class or something. We try to be, have some flexibility around that, because obviously we want the best alternatives for all of our Georgetown children. And, for some people, homeschooling, works, the best. So we have to know about the qualifications, we have to know about the curriculum. We do usually ask about how what their schedule is gonna be, how many hours the children are gonna be engaged in instruction. And then we have to know, how they're gonna assess progress. And then at the end of the year, each of the school families does submit something in writing to us as to what the year was in terms of accomplishments and what progress they can show that their children did make.
Is there
And
any,
they're required annually to re-up for the request of a plan.
I mean, it's a personal choice, and so power to them.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any track record of the graduation?
Well, they don't
rate
earn a
and
diploma,
when-
they don't earn a diploma from high school. They get a GED usually, or,
So then go on to college.
Mhm. Oh, yes, the homeschool families often have a high success rate, going on. We have some fine homeschool families who take it very seriously. In other places I've been, sometimes if something's not going well in the schools, the parents will say, oh, I'm gonna homeschool them. And it really is overwhelming for them to do that. There is a lot to it. It isn't, you have to be invested in it, you
No.
have to
Only
be
imagine.
deeply committed to it. And I can say that our families that are, that are homeschooling,
nice.
in our town, really believe in it and are doing it for the right reasons. Yeah, so I do respect the work that they're doing, because it isn't for everybody, I agree, it's a challenge.
Imagine.
Laura, did we vote?
So you haven't
No,
voted
okay.
yet?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Let's see, two things, actually, a couple things. Our next meeting is September 27th here. Rob noted that there's a school building committee meeting on Tuesday,
Tuesday, it's, trying to finalize
on the 18th,
whatever the date
Yep.
is next Tuesday. At
7 o'clock here.
Here, if not here, the second floor.
So next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, town hall, try the third floor, possibly second floor, but it is a school building committee meeting. They're all public, so people should attend if they have questions. I forgot to ask Carrie Denley this, but did she say there's a football game this weekend?
Yes.
Home?
Friday night, she said in Revere.
Oh, it's
Under the lights, she said at
7
7.
o'clock.
okay. So 7 o'clock.
There's a, I thought she said a freshman
Home game.
home on Saturday.
Saturday.
Okay, so Friday night varsity Revere under the lights. Saturday home freshman.
Mm-hmm.
So attend if you can.
They crushed the opponent in the open.
Yeah, which is great.
That's great.
Yeah, it was very successful.
All right, and welcome back to school, everybody that's watching. I hope it went well. And we are going to adjourn into, oh, yes,
Can I
Pam.
just raise one thing about the appointment of the school committee CPAC liaison for
Yes.
this school year?
You did send me an email about that.
Would it be possible to do that at this meeting,
Yeah,
or
are you all set with
not?
doing,
Did you want
were you
me?
gonna be on CPAC or not?
Pam and I talked, and that's perfectly
you
fine.
guys-
She'd like to do that.
You're
sure.
okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, Barbie had been the CPAC
Yes.
rep, and Pam was asked to be the CPAC rep.
I would really enjoy doing that.
And
a
she
CPAC
was
parent.
part of CPAC before, and I forgot you had
She was
sent me the
more than
email.
part, she was the
She
chair.
was CPAC
For the
before.
last 2 years, yes, and
And the school committee does have a CPAC
liaison.
liaison,
position. Yes.
which is something that you would be.
Right, the liaison will attend CPAC meetings and events where possible and keep apprised of special education issues. The liaison will meet regularly with the CPAC will meet regularly with the chair of the CPAC, and will facilitate the presentation of any CPAC proposals to the school committee at school committee meetings.
All right.
And that's the responsibilities of
Laura,
that
do we need to
position.
vote?
Yes, you should
Um,
appoint her.
So Barbie is gonna step aside from it, and the vote is to appoint Pam as our CPAC representative. So the chair will entertain a motion to appoint Pam Lundquist as the CPAC representative for the Georgetown School Committee.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Do I need to abstain?
No, you can vote for
I
yourself.
really, I really am
You
looking
can
forward
vote-
to it, I
You can vote
think.
for yourself.
the
Any
new-
opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for reminding me. I got your email and I
It's okay,
completely.
yeah, and I really look forward to working with the new chairman of the CPAC, Shelby Walker. I think she's off to a terrific start, and she's very excited about, chairing it and getting monthly meetings going and bringing reaching out to more CPAC parents to become involved as a support group and everything, so
Excellent.
I think it's gonna be an exciting year for the CPAC.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So we will be going into executive session. We won't be coming back into regular session. We'll adjourn from executive session. And we're going into executive session under Chapter 30A, Section 21, to discuss ongoing litigation as well as a personnel matter. And it's a roll call vote.
Aye.
So it's yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
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 yes. All right, we're now in executive session. Let's just